Sir, this is Orgo. I am present, sir.
Okay, yes, I've seen you. So if you remember, we were discussing what the old man was talking about, was saying about the night, uh, and the response from Ross, which simply uh, kind of gives credence to the remarks made by the old man. And from this, if you remember, I had discussed this with you. It shows that correspondence between the macrocosm and the microcosm. All right. The old man continues, and this is the part that you should keep in mind. It is unnatural, even like the deed that is done. Hmm. So the unnatural, of course, every murder, every act of violence is unnatural. There can be no doubt about it. Hmm. But here, the emphasis is there because of the fact that a king has been murdered, and being a king uh, in those days, 11th, 12th century, or even during the Elizabethan period, meant something totally different. We're talking about absolute monarchy. Though England did have its Magna Carta, still monarchy was more or less absolute. On Tuesday last, a falcon, towering in her pride of place. Towering refers to the movement, mm, where the falcon mounts higher and higher. Okay, and this movement is a circular movement. In her pride of place, referring to the highest point where it can reach, was by a mousing owl hawked at. Now, a falcon being attacked by an owl who is dismissed as something that catches mice, and killed. As if, the order of the world has turned upside down. Everything is in a state of topsy-turviness. And then, and Duncan's horses. So each and everything that the old man has to say is seconded by the theme of Ross. And Duncan's horses, a thing most strange and certain, beauteous and swift, minions of their race, minions meaning favorite, turned wild in nature, broke their stalls, flung out, contending against obedience as they would make war with mankind. And old man, continues that narrative. It is said they eat each other. So horse eating horse, that is perhaps the most unnatural thing to happen. But we are talking about a world which has gone unnatural, where nature is no more operating in the manner it is expected to do. But the problem does not lie with nature. It is the human act which has resulted in this kind of unnatural behavior that you notice all around. Is it clear?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we
Yes, sir.
skip a little now. Then we come to the next part with the arrival of Macbeth. Uh, so naturally, the question that needs to be answered is, uh, who did this more than bloody deed? So who are responsible or who were responsible for Duncan's murder? Macbeth says, those that Macbeth had slain. Alas, the day. What good they could pretend, meaning what could be their motive, what the benefit they would have derived from killing the king. Then a new, element enters into this narrative, which Macduff brings to our notice. They were suborned, meaning, what does the word suborned means? No, not bribed in that sense, but kind of instigated. Okay, instigated to do something evil. Uh, they were suborned. Malcolm and Donald, being the king's two sons, are stolen away and fled, which puts upon them suspicion of the deed. Of course, it's true that we have seen that them stealing themselves away because they felt threatened. They felt their lives were not safe in this company. But it has now been interpreted as a kind of, admission of guilt. That since they have fled, they must have been the one who hatched this conspiracy. And the point that is brought again and again is against nature still. Thriftless ambition, meaning wasteful ambition. It could not wait. That will rabbin up thine own life means. Duncan was their father, the means of their life. And they have eaten them up, eaten him up rather. And then it is most likely that sovereignty will fall upon Macbeth. Macbeth tells us he's already named and gone to a scone to be invested. Invested, of course, refers to the ceremony, which is called the investiture ceremony, where this crowning is ritually takes place through, where all the rituals are observed. And scone used to be the traditional seat of this kind of investiture ceremony. All right. The only thing that you need to notice is that um, when Ross asks Macduff, "Will you to a scone?" Macduff says, "No, cousin, I will to fight." Now that's very interesting. Though the play does not offer us an answer, we can only make intelligent guesses. Why is it that Macduff refuses to participate in the investiture ceremony of Macbeth? Okay, perhaps Shakespeare is keeping him free from any kind of taint. Not the one who participated in or gave his um, kind of consent to Macbeth's kingship, his coronation, by refusing to participate in this investiture ceremony. All right. Now, how would you describe this scene? What is its dramatic function? Noyan? What dramatic function does this scene serve? Nayan, can you hear me? What happened to Nayan? He has gone elsewhere. That's a very good way of participating in an online class. You can keep your mobile on and disappear. Good. Obiraj?
Sir.
Yes. What is the function of this particular scene that we just discussed?
Sir, I think it's basically a subversion of the uh, goodness which exists in the society.
No, that again is what you're describing, what is being said here. I'm talking about what purpose does it serve? What dramatic purpose does it serve?
Sir, I think it serves the purpose of proceeding the series of events in the plot towards the um, climax, which is guided through a series of evil actions, which gets its initiation here.
Shivam, Shivam, are you there? No, he is also absent. Very good. Nilanjan?
Yes, sir. I
Yes.
think this scene shows that how the things are how the atmosphere is supernatural and things are not right. That one can
No,
feel that.
there is nothing
Uh,
supernatural about it.
I mean, a situation that in the previous scene we see that the horse fighting each other, so nothing is natural or normal. So then this scene appears when people are discussing about Duncan's body dead, and also there is a matter of uh, kingship. So it's like shifting of power kind of so in this scene.
No, I'm afraid. Or Arjo?
Sir, can I try?
Yes, Arjo, go ahead. No, nobody's getting it. That's very sad.
Sir,
Rajarshi?
may I try?
Yes.
Sir, in my mind, Shakespeare is trying to portray that the world hasn't yet, or the world isn't
No. What
getting
he's
used to
trying
the
to do,
fact
that
that
is not my
Duncan.
question. I'm sorry, you haven't understood my question. My question is very simple. What dramatic function does this scene serve?
That the natural world hasn't completely accepted the
No, no,
murder of
no,
Duncan.
no, 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 no. This you're describing something that is discussed here. Orgo,
Yes, sir.
have you understood my question?
Yes, sir, I have understood.
Then I'll try to answer it.
So I think sir, can't frame it, sir. I'm sorry.
The simple. I think I had given the hint in the earlier class itself that it is a choric scene. You all know that Shakespeare does not use a formal chorus. So how would the audience know the kind of development that is taking place or the interpretation of some of the happenings? So in classical tragedies, you had a formal chorus to perform this. Shakespeare, in other than The Winter's Tale, where time appears as a chorus in between the long gap between the earlier uh, acts and the later acts. There is a long gap, time lag, and that is filled by the appearance of time as chorus. But Otherwise, other than that single exception, what you have in the Winter's Tale, the chorus does not appear, formal chorus that is. So what does Shakespeare do? He uses characters to perform this role. So in Shakespeare's plays, you will come across choric characters like Enobarbus in Antonio and Cleopatra, like the fool in the first half of King Lear, and Edgar in the second half of the play. Here, we don't have any character as such, but characters they come across, like the old man, like Ross, and then Macduff himself. They are, doing what a formal chorus would do, taking the audience into confidence, interpreting, as I said, old man and Ross, they interpret the unnaturalness of events that have gone by or that have taken place. Macduff tells you about the future developed in the play that Macbeth has already gone to Scone uh, to be invested. So these are some of the important things that a chorus, a choric character, or a choric scene has to do or has to perform. So this play, the dramatic function of this scene is purely choric. It interprets the happenings of the night, which has been such an unnatural night, and then the future development that Macbeth has already been named the new king and he has gone to Scone to be crowned the king. Got it?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So I'm very really surprised that you all try to describe it. That was not my question. Interpretation, that's my question. All right. Then it is we are also told that Duncan's body has also been taken to the uh, traditional place where English kings are buried, their bones are kept. It is, it says, where's Duncan's body? Macduff says most of the information of what has happened or what is happening is given us by Macduff, who knows all these or who is aware of all these development, carried to Cornkill, the sacred storehouse of his predecessors and guardian of their bones. All right. So that
Yes.
takes care of the choric scene. And that also takes care of the second act. Does anybody have any question before we start discussing Act 3? No?
No, sir.
Fine. You later on ask Noyan what happened to him. Why did he play this trick with the class? Okay, all right, all right. Oh, then it's okay. Thou hast it now. We have Banco. And for the first time, we find that someone is openly suspecting, not in public, but in private, suspecting Macbeth and holding him, the person responsible for the murder of Duncan. Thou hast it now, King, Cawdor, Glumps, all as the women promised. And I fear, and this is the point that you need to underline, thou playest most foully for it. So this is the first hint that Banquo suspects that the murder of Duncan was Macbeth's own handiwork. Now, if you remember what oath he had taken with others, in fact, he had initiated it and others had joined him. What was it? I don't know.
So the oath of loyalty and
No, loyalty is no more there. The king is dead.
yes, sir.
That that they will find out who the
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. They will
killer
find out who the
is.
real murderer is.
Yes, and will naturally,
Execute or
work
punish him.
towards the punishment.
Yes, sir.
And now he knows. What does he do about it?
Nothing.
Nothing. So it is generally presented that because of the fact that you know James the First traced his ancestry to Banquo, Shakespeare saw to it that there was nothing, hmm, you know, negative about the portrayal of Duncan in this play. But, he was a playwright who could, with a little sleight of his hand, subvert the narrative which he was forced to maintain. The Banquo is spotless. And that's why he deviated from the source where Banquo was Macbeth's accomplice in the crime. So he did not, take that version. And in fact, what he did was to change it completely so that James is not displeased. But the artist in him cannot help putting truth somewhere in a very subtle manner, that's how we can describe it, the subversive act. That on the one hand, you have the fear of the king, you have the fear of the censor. In fact, his company was called the King's Company. So naturally, Shakespeare had to work under a great deal of constraints. And he was forced by these constraints to present Banquo as a spotless character. But the artist in him does find an opportunity to subvert this picture, this portrayal. And this is the hint that he has forgotten all about this oath. Now he knows, but he does nothing about it. In fact, he starts talking about his own ambition because if the prophecies made by the Weird sisters have come true in Macbeth's case, it would also come true in his case. So yet it was said, it should not stand in thy posterity, but that myself should be the root and father of many kings. All right.
Yes.
Now we have the arrival of Banquo and all the other noblemen. And when Macbeth sees Banquo, he says, "Here is our chief guest." So Banquo is given the importance he deserves. Lady Macbeth, of course, continues, in that vein and says, "If he had been forgotten, it had been a gap in our great feast." Now, this great feast, of course, is the royal banquet that Macbeth and his wife are holding tonight for the noblemen of Scotland. We will talk about that when we actually start discussing the banquet scene. All right, but this is where you get first reference to uh, the banquet scene that is to take place, and it will take place tonight itself. And we have a formal announcement from Macbeth. Tonight we hold a solemn supper, sir, and I will request your presence. That Banquo responding in a manner which goes with the courtly tradition. Let your highness command upon me, to by which my duties are with a most indissoluble tie forever knit. He is referring to the oath of allegiance. Then Macbeth asks him, ride you this afternoon? Are you going somewhere today? Eh, my good lord, we should have else desired your good advice, which still hath been both grave and prosperous. Grave in the sense meaning serious, well considered, and prosperous meaning profitable, meaning I have benefited from your advice in this day's council, but we will take tomorrow. And then he asks, it is far you ride? Then he says, yes, I do ride, but I'll be back by evening. So Macbeth says, fail not our feast. My lord, I will not. And then he talks about the fact, and this is again an important piece of information we are given by Macbeth himself. We hear our bloody cousins, meaning those who are responsible for Duncan's murder, that is what has been given out, but Banquo knows that is not the truth, are bestowed, meaning have gone and settled in England and in Ireland. So they have decided, as they had planned, to live in separate places so that they do not become victim of a single attack. Not confessing to their cruel parricide, filling the hearers with strange invention. But on that tomorrow, we will discuss that tomorrow. And then he asked another question. This is the third one, if you have noticed. First, are you riding? Second, are you riding far? And the last question, goes fleance with you. Isn't it so?
Yes, sir.
And the questions are asked in such a way with with such spacing, or giving it time that nobody would suspect him of trying to keep a track on Banco's movements. Did you notice it? Give
Yes,
an
sir.
honest answer.
So after you told, we have noticed
No,
it.
no, no, no. Before that, when I was reading it. No,
No,
and
sir.
that we are not supposed to. That's the point. If you had got it, then Shakespeare would have failed. Yes. So very cunningly, he elicits information, important information about his movements today. Now, naturally, that would give you an idea that he has something in mind. All right? And that will not be a happy one, as we shall see immediately. Then uh, he asks his servants to bring those men who have been waiting for him outside. But before that, we have a very interesting soliloquy, which we will read in full. To be thus is nothing. Thus meaning To be king is nothing unless you live with a sense of safety. But to be safely thus. But the moment he mentions this, you realize that he is not comfortable. He's not feeling comfortable. Something is playing up in his mind. And he makes it very clear to it that he perceives a threat in Bangkok. And this is what he would spell out in this soliloquy. Our fears in Bangkok stick deep, and in his royalty of nature reigns that which would be feared. So about Bangkok, it's a compliment that there is something royal about his appearance, and that makes Macbeth so afraid of him. And to that dauntless temper of his mind, he hath a wisdom that doth guide his valor to act in safety. So not only he is courageous, he is also intelligent. And when you have this kind of combination, intelligence and courage, you become a formidable person. And Macbeth realizes that. And that makes him fearful of Banquo. It is none but he whose being I do fear. And under him, my genius is rebuked. As it said, Mark Antony's was by Caesar. What is this genius? Does anybody have any idea?
That plotting and scheming
Hmm?
against that plotting against the king.
No,
That
no, no, no. But Rajarshi?
Sir, genius as in his conspiracy.
No, genius means conspiracy. Where did you get it?
No, sir, genius, I mean, his intelligence now, here in a bad sense, probably.
No, genius means good spirit. That was the
Okay.
traditional belief. Yeah, yes, you remember Dr. Faustus.
Yes.
This came from the medieval tradition. That's it. That's it. So, the guardian angel of Banquo is far more powerful than Macbeth's, as was the case with Mark Antony, who was afraid of Caesar. But this Caesar is not Julius Caesar. This Caesar is Octavius Caesar. Okay? And if you read Antony and Cleopatra, you will find this. That is where it is taken up. Uh, he chid the sisters, meaning he chided them, he punished, kind of rebuked them, rebuffed them when first they put the name of king upon me and bade them speak to him. Then, prophet like, they all hailed him father to a line of kings. Now, this is another reason why he wants to get rid of Banquo. One, he fears him because, as I said, he is uh, there is something royal about his appearance. He has got both courage and wisdom. That is reason number one. And reason number two has something to do what the weird sisters had prophesied that while Macbeth will be king, it is Banquo whose issue, meaning his descendants, will become kings. And the same promise was not made to Macbeth. So that's another reason why he feels threatened and would like to get rid of him. Now you realize why was he asking those questions about uh, Banquo's movement today. He has a plan, and the plan is to get rid of him through hired assassins. And this soliloquy explains the reason why he wants to get rid of him. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
upon my head, they placed a fruitless crown, meaning nobody from my lineage would inherit it. That's why it is a fruitless crown. And put a barren scepter in my grip, that is. Scepter is the rod of royalties. That's an insignia of royalty, of kingship. Tends to be wrenched with an unlineal hand, meaning one who is not descending from me, who does not belong to my lineage. That is what the word unlineal means. No son of mine succeeding. If it be so, for Banco's issue have I filed my mind. Filed mind defiled. So killing has made him someone who is sinful. And he would naturally be punished for it. What he has done is unforgivable. And he knows that, as I told you, that you don't have to ask anybody else. Ah, the nature of Macbeth's crime and its consequences. Macbeth will explain it to you himself. If it be so, I mean, if that is what is going to happen, that Banco's children would succeed me and not me, my children, that is, have I filed my mind for them, the gracious Duncan have I murdered? So have I murdered Duncan for this, for the benefit of Banco's children? Not that immediately they will inherit the crown, but yes, at a future date. Put rancors in the vessel of my peace. Rancors meaning bitterness. So I am not happy with myself. I do not have peace in my life. My mind is filled with bitterness. So have I done all this for Banco's children to become kings of Scotland at a future date? And then comes those famous line, and mine eternal jewel given to the common enemy of man. Rajarshi, what is this eternal jewel and who is the common enemy of man?
Sir, the devil here.
Yeah, devil is the common enemy
Common
of
enemy.
man.
Oh
And
no, common enemy.
and what is the eternal jewel?
My innocence or my soul.
Soul, not innocence. It's soul. That's the
Oh,
eternal jewel for the believers. So as I said that on an earlier occasion, I had told you that he talks like a secular person, that he will jump the punishment that awaits him in the world hereafter. But that was spoken, uh, uh, in a momentary spur, as it were. The real, you know, truth comes out now that he is afraid, that he has joined hands with the devil. And his soul is no more with him, but he has bartered, as Faustus had done, to the devil to satisfy or to fulfill his ambition. To make them kings, the seed of Banco kings, rather than so, come fate into the list and champion me to the utterance, meaning to the uttermost. So I want this to be decided once and for all. So either Banco reigns or I get rid of Banco influence and at least reign in peace. And then comes, the moment when you have the entry of two murderers. They are the hired assassins whom Shakespeare has, again, suborned. You remember the word. Hmm. And now he is instigating them. Not only he would, hire them by paying them, but he is also instigating them. He says, uh, he had spoken to them earlier, as he says, was it not yesterday we spoke together? Uh, and then he says, continues, well then, now have you considered of my speeches? Know that it was he, meaning Banco, in the times past, which held you so under fortune, which you thought had been our innocent self. This I made good to you in our last conference, passed in probation, meaning gave you the proof. And now how you were born in hand, meaning deceived, and how cross the instrument, and who wrote them, meaning, this is the act of instigation. That whatever happened to you, whatever misfortune fell to you, and the suffering you had to undergo, you thought I was responsible for them, but in fact, it was Vanco. All right?
Yes, sir.
And then he continues to instigate. If this is true, that Benko was responsible, was the author of your misfortune, how are you going to take it? And they answer, as they say, we are men, my liege. Got it? Line 90. Now, when he taunts them in a way, that do you find your patience so predominant in your nature that you can let this go? Are you so gospel, referring to the gospel, someone has hit you, offer him the other cheek, you remember from the New Testament? Christ saying, so that is, are you so gospel to pray for his good man, for this good man, sorry, and for his issue, whose heavy hand hath bowed you to grave and beggared yours forever? It is in response to that taunt that say, we are men, my liege. And then he says, yeah, in the catalog you go for men, and he gives you a list of the dogs. They are all dogs. But are you really someone who would take revenge for what has happened to you? I don't read that passage. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Mm. But that was done at a different scale. But yes, there was this the same strategy was applied. You're right in that. Mm. That provoking them. Mm. But the scale is totally different. Now the second murderer, when says that I am one, my liege, whom the wild blows and buffets of the world hath so incensed that I am reckless, I do in spite of the world. So he says, I'm reckless now because I have suffered a lot. So I don't care what happens to me. I will do what you want me to do. The first murderer responds in a similar manner. And I another, so weary with disasters, tugged with fortune, that I would set my life on any chance to mend it or to be rid of it. This is what you call desperation. That either, and Macbeth himself had shown that desperation, that either Banquo lives or I. When he says, come fate into the list and champion me to the utterance. So that was a sense of desperation in Macbeth. Now, a similar sense of desperation is there in the first murderer. So if I can improve my life, mending it means that, or lose it. I don't care. So Macbeth has succeeded in instigating them, and they are fully geared up, ready to avenge themselves on Banquo. Both of you know Banquo was your enemy. True, my lord. So is he mine. That's news, is that so? What has Banquo done? Nothing. But it is fear that makes him feel threatened by Banquo. It's Banquo's goodness, his nobility, his courage, his wisdom, but also something that, of course, he wouldn't know. We know that he suspects him. All right. So audience knows more than the character, that is in this case, Macbeth knows. This is another instance of what you call?
Dramatic irony.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So is he mine, and in such bloody distance, meaning so close that every minute of his being thrust against my nearest of life. I feel threatened every minute. His very presence is a threat, continuous threat. And he says, and though I could with barefaced power sweep him from my sight and bid my will about it. You know, when you are a kind of absolute monarch, you could have simply got him killed or simply ordered his execution. And nobody would have questioned him for that. But then there are forces, currents, cross currents, which participate in the power game, and he's afraid of them, that the things might go against him. And that's why he will not do it openly, publicly. He will get it done through these hired assassins. All right? So the scene ends where he says, it is concluded again with a rhyming couplet. It is concluded, Banco, thy soul's flight, if it find heaven, must find it out tonight. All right. So after Duncan's murder, when Duncan, he had murdered Duncan, he was so remorseful and truly remorseful. He regretted it, wanted it to be undone. But that has not prevented him from moving further into the world of crime. And now it is not Lady Macbeth who is taking the initiative. The power balance has shifted. In fact, Lady Macbeth doesn't know anything of this, as we shall see in the banquet scene. He is doing things on his own. He has acquired that courage, that confidence to act even without taking the, he calls his wife the dearest partner. Hmm. But he has forgotten this dearest partner. Now he can do things on his own. So this is, as I said, the shift that you notice, that Macbeth is now becoming his own man, not reliant on or answerable to his wife. That's where we stop today.
Sir,
Yes.
sir,
Yes,
isn't it
Oviraj.
rooted in the sir? Isn't sir? Am I audible?
But your voice is breaking.
Hello,
Yes, go ahead.
sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Sir, my question is that is it have does it have its
Oviraj
roots in
can't
the
hear you.
instigation with hello?
Yes. It has not started. It has been dominant for a long time. We have discussed that. Is that so? That good has started just taking shape. It is not formidable enough. The world of Macbeth is still dominated by the forces of evil. I have not received anything from. Okay, so does it have its roots in the instigation of Lady Macbeth by through her deliberate questioning of Macbeth's manhood? Uh, I think I did discuss this that the nature or scale is different, but yes, there is some similarity that both of them instigate by putting their pulse on, putting their hand on the weak part of their nerves, as it were.
Okay, sir.
Anything else? So we stop today and meet again tomorrow at 7. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you and good night.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Good night, sir.
Good night.